Introduction to the meeting. This is a public meeting of the Berlin Conservation Commission occurring via Zoom webinar on July 15, 2020, starting at 7:30 p.m. As a preliminary matter, please note that this meeting is being recorded and that some attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that other participants may be able to see you. Take care not to screen share your computer. Anything you broadcast may be captured by the recording. This is John Aney, Chair of the Berlin Conservation Commission. Permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me prior to calling the meeting to order. So when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Carolyn McDonald.
Aye.
Walter Bickford.
Here.
Louise Jonda.
Here.
Liz DiChiara.
Here.
Steve Beard.
Yahoo!
Excellent. And then Robin Berry, who has been sworn in and even passed her ethics training. So Robin Berry.
Woo.
Yes. All right.
Initiation test time.
Yep.
Don't ask me any questions about it.
I don't believe Holly is here. Is that correct?
I don't see her.
She told me she was on vacation. And then Leanne Lee is assisting with production.
Here.
Right. Anticipated speakers include Kyle McDonald and Nicole Hayes, and then Craig Wombold. All right. For the quorum of the commission present, I call this meeting to order at 7:35 p.m. on Wednesday, July 15th, 2020. This is an open meeting of the Conservation Commission and is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12th, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of COVID-19 virus. Specific information, the guidelines, and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and or parties with a right and or requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the Town of Berlin website at www.townofberlin.com. In order to mitigate the transmission of COVID-19 virus, we have been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings, and as such, the governor's order suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of the public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely, provided reasonable public access is afforded, so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. While no in-person attendance of members of the public is permitted, every effort will be made to ensure the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on the town's website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. The standard public comment portion of this meeting will accommodate limited public comment. This meeting, the Conservation Commission is convening using Zoom platform as posted on the agenda, identifying how the public may join. The public is encouraged to follow along during this meeting using the posted agenda, unless I noted otherwise. Supporting materials that are available this evening to members of the Conservation Commission can be made available to the public by request. Meeting ground rules. Commission members and speakers on the agenda, please remember to mute your phone or computer, especially Steve, when you're not speaking. Please remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. Public comment portions of the agenda. To the extent that our technical capability allows, public comment will be permitted during the public comment portion of this meeting as follows. Attendees' phones and other devices will be muted unless and until they raise their hands and are recognized by me to speak. I ask each member of the public who wishes to speak to identify their name, and I will afford each speaker time to ask a question or make a brief comment. Finally, each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by a roll call vote. And that is it.
Nice job. Can you do that again?
No.
No. Okay.
No, I don't have to. All right. So we are going immediately to our NOI. We have an NOI hearing. Let me screen share. Okay. There we go. So this is concerning a property on Marlborough Road. It's at the corner of Marlborough Road and River Road. It does not have a number. It's assessors map 12, parcel 24-3. All right. So Kyle, do you want to proceed?
Yes. So my name is Kyle McDonald. I'm from Wetland Consulting. I'm representing Craig Wemble, the applicant for this project. Like you said, the lot is located on the corner of Marlborough Road and River Road in Berlin, and there's actually another part of it that's in Hudson. So as some of you know, we had a site walk with a few of you the other day just to kind of go over the project. And I want to thank you guys for taking the time to do that and, you know, in preparation for the meeting. Like was mentioned at the site walk, you are planning to have a peer reviewer go out and confirm the wetland line. And I would just ask that you coordinate that with me and or Nicole, so Nicole can hopefully be out there with the peer reviewer to confirm the wetland line, because she was the one who did the delineation. It on the screen sharing, could you open up the scroll to the plan? Should be at the very end if that's the whole booklet.
That one?
Perfect. So yeah, I'll just kind of go over the project here for you. So we're proposing to construct a house with, you know, an associated driveway as well as a small barn. The house and barn are both going to be located within the 100-foot buffer zone of the wetland on site, both of which will be located completely outside of the Berlin 25-foot wetland setback. This project will have to involve a crossing of the wetland, as well as there's an associated intermittent stream channel that runs through the wetland that you can see on the plan. So what we did here is we picked, you know, the narrowest portion of the wetland and stream to cross on, you know, both sides of the driveway. It's pretty wide, and we have a nice narrow area to cross to get up to the buildable portion of the lot where the house is proposed to be located. So that stream and wetland crossing will require 388 square feet of alteration to the wetland, and just to the, I don't know which way this plan's oriented, you know, just to the bottom left of the crossing, we have our proposed wetland replication area, which will be 585 square feet. So we put that on there at a ratio of 1.5 to 1, which exceeds the 1-to-1 ratio requirement. That basically covers all of, you know, the project as a whole. We have, you know, our erosion controls shown on here with, you know, it's that line with the, you know, X's, and the proposed erosion controls for this is silt fence with staked hay bales in front. So we just have that around all of our limit of work. And so yeah, that's basically the project in a whole. I know at the site walk, it was mentioned that you wanted letters from both the town of Berlin and Hudson regarding the sewer tie-in, because the plan is to tie into the Hudson sewer line. So I have emailed you a letter from the Department of Public Works of Hudson granting permission for that. And we're in communication with Bill Brookings, the Board of Health agent for Neshoba Associated Boards of Health representing Berlin, and he said they will have a meeting to discuss that, and he anticipates issuing a letter shortly after that meeting to get that covered. So that's basically all I have for you guys, if you have any questions.
I have some initial comments. Firstly, I had asked Dave Burke about checking the wetland flagging, told him about coordinating with Nicole. He's got a little behind in his projects, should be able to get to it soon. I will email him again after we're done. As it turns out, you have not been assigned a DEP number yet. I just checked this late this afternoon. So we're not going to be able to act formally on this NOI anyway. In these circumstances, I mean, we would usually continue the hearing. You can insist on closing the hearing, but we still can't generate any documents because we don't have a DEP number. Mm-hmm. The DEP is better than they had been earlier. They were months behind earlier. But anyway, so that's that. And I have been in contact with Dave. I have the copy of the letter from Hudson DPW. Would any other conservation commission members like to see it?
I looked at it earlier.
Okay.
I think you sent it, right?
Yeah.
I believe so.
Okay, I think I saw it.
I also have an email from town administrator, and the town of, who had been in contact with the town DPW of, the Hudson DPW, and they do not need our authority to tie this in. they can grant this permission independent of what our opinion is, which was interesting. Okay, so those are my preliminary comments. Did other people have comments?
What is the size, what is the square footage of the portion of the lot that is in Hudson?
Can you zoom out? It might show on here. I guess it doesn't show on here. I could get that information for you.
Well, I'll tell you why I ask, because they are, Hudson is Hudson, and Hudson's like Hudson because of their, been doing things like this for decades. They have to sewer a lot. That isn't a lot in Hudson. I don't know what the size of a legal lot is in Hudson, but if it isn't even a lot in Hudson, it's unbelievable that they go and allow the sewerage on it. I think that's wrong. First of all, the whole thing smells right from the beginning. This is part of a three-part deal, and it is linked. What I'm saying is relevant. Started out one big lot. The original owner pulled a quick one on the planning board, which was half asleep, and got a lot for his house that had a cesspool. And then he built on the remaining land, so nothing could be done with that and they don't even have a legal up-to-date system on that one. Now they come down here in this wetland area that shouldn't be built on, and they come in with this deal with Hudson's gonna run a sewer in here. I'd like to express some opposition to it and find out if Hudson, what their bylaws are on sewering a lot. Maybe the town administrator and the sewer guy, whatever he is, DPW guy, might be shoot from the hip without even reading their laws themselves. I'd like to look at those laws and see if there's a definition of a lot that they're going to sewer. And the other thing that comes to my mind, I can remember Hudson had chronic overcapacity on their, ran over capacity on their sewage treatment plant. I'd like to know if the plant is up to date and is handling all the sewage that it has. And if it isn't, then I don't think they should be tying into lots in Berlin, never mind any more lots in Hudson. But I think that there ought to be, instead of just rolling over because, oh, this got this letter and you got this letter, the heck with it. Something smells here. It isn't right. And I think we ought to dig in and look at it and put up a little bit of a fight, even if we lose. This needs further review. I've contacted our Board of Health. Not surprisingly, they just want to ho-hum. Hudson's going to allow it, so our hands are tied. Well, our hands aren't tied. And I think we ought to look a little more closely.
Walter, I don't think that's fair to the Board of Health. I mean, they about this case, they actually, they were in interchange with Hudson now. And here, let me pull up Margaret's email.
Yeah, what's the matter?
I just have to, it just takes me a little while to pull stuff up, that's all.
While he pulls that up.
But he actually, this was sent to you, Walter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are you trying to pull up? I read everything. I know what's going on.
Here, well, let me just share it with everybody else. So this is from Margaret to Walter. People can read it.
Sean, my point is, if I had the attitude to just look at a letter in the 50 years I've been working for Berlin to protect Berlin, just accept it and let it go, we'd have hundreds of more houses in this town. Town water, town sewage, and Berlin wouldn't be Berlin. just because somebody puts something in writing and looks into it a little bit, have they looked into this notion that I talked about, the lot size? Have they looked into the capacity of the Hudson treatment plant? I'm saying we ought to dig our heels in, somebody in Berlin, in order to investigate this thing. I don't think that, we're not going to move on it anyway tonight, but I think you should keep that in the back of your mind, or we should. I'm going to be working on this. I'm going for a couple of days, but next week I'm going to talk to the Board of Health. I'm going to get down and look at the Hudson bylaw myself, seeing how the appropriate boards don't want to do it, and see what this whole thing is about. This is ridiculous.
Well, I mean, it's really an issue. I mean, you would have to, so you're going to investigate that issue with the town of Hudson, because it's really, again, it's a Hudson issue. It's not a Berlin issue.
Right, John.
That's what I'm saying. No, Walter, don't be rude. This is not about sitting back. It's about clarifying what our authority is.
Our authority is defending the town of Berlin. That's our authority. And you do everything you can to help.
Liz?
I guess I was surprised that on the other project, when we wanted Hudson to tie up their water, they said, no, 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 no. And then I was surprised that they said, yeah, sure, you can have sewer. I was just surprised. I guess I don't.
Sewer and water for the house.
This
Yes.
is sewer and water for this house?
Yeah. That's what it says in the letter anyway. Kyle, if they're.
That is correct, I believe.
Yeah.
Interesting. Huh. Okay.
Can we make that a condition on our determination? I know we're not making a determination now, but can we make that a condition that the plan, if we were to make a decision on the plan, can we make that a condition that, okay, water and sewage will be supplied by Hudson? Otherwise,
That's what the letter, I can show you that, I believe that actually is the case.
Okay.
Can we
I'm
see
just.
the letter? Because I thought it was just sewer. I may have misread it.
The
Well,
letter,
I thought they were sinking a well, so they were taking, it was Berlin water, but Hudson sewer.
I understand that, but can we make the condition? Because it's really a Board of Health issue.
No, we can't. We can't. I'm going to be doing this as a citizen of the town.
Okay, because that's what I was concerned about. You know, it's a Board of Health issue.
Kyle, is there a well going on the property?
To my knowledge, no. Craig, could you answer that?
It's right here. This is the letter right here. Payment
But
of
that's
water
from
service-
Hudson allowing it. What my question is what is the plan?
Okay.
The original plan in 2014 was well, water and sewage.
Right.
Okay, sorry.
That plan stands. Now that I'm looking at the plan, I do see that we are showing the water line going to the house as well as the sewer line.
Okay. And my other question, the barn, this is a residence. It's not any business. It's not, the barn isn't for machinery or landscaping or any kind of side business.
To my knowledge, no. Craig, correct me if I'm wrong on that, but this is just a residence.
He has to unmute.
He's muted.
Okay, I'm sorry, but does everybody hear me?
We hear you now. Yep.
Okay, yeah, actually this residence is something that my wife and I, we're Berlin residents right now. My wife and I would like to build our own home on this property, and the barn is for the housing of our own material, you know, collection of antique boat, a car, things like that.
Thanks.
Does anyone want to talk about the fact that we're crossing a wetland?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this one wetland issue is enough. It's legal and legitimate to look at this lot as part of the original deal. So they had the original deal, they did this, got away with it, did this. Now they're coming down, this is all part of it. They've had wetlands, we allowed wetlands things on other parts of the lot, and this is going too far. We don't have to allow this guy to develop every little square foot of his lot, even though I think he's sold out on it.
Yeah, he's not the current owner.
Yeah, Walter, this is the current owner, the prior owner from 2014, 2015, because I pulled the file on that, was somebody else, and they lived on Dudley Road. And,
Yeah.
you know, they built the house up this way.
I'm quite familiar with the whole deal.
So, but this is a different owner. And it's a different plan.
It's the same lot. It's the same piece of land that was originally.
Same lot.
done. But anyway, there's no need of going on tonight. I mean, so what is the issue here? We're going to vote or not vote on this tonight? Because
We're not voting
Well-
tonight. We don't have a DEP number.
And Dave still needs to check the flagging.
Does anybody want to talk about the wetland crossing?
Sure,
Yeah.
John, go ahead.
Okay, so for reference, the plans that were in 2014 were to build a house in the corner here. This instead is building a house back. It's some land that's slightly elevated and farther away from the road frontages. There is some wetland here with an intermittent stream. And so the plan is to cross the stream using a box culvert. Reading through the NOI, you've all gotten this same file. It seems like that they made an effort to meet the standards, and this is the wetland replication area. I mean, the way that it's set up, it seems appropriate. The question is, what are our thoughts about wetlands crossing? Because that's been something that people have resisted in the past. It's also something we've been overruled on in the past. But given that this is really as much an issue as the sewer tie-in, I just wanted to get, this is actually
It's really
our
a bigger,
jurisdiction.
yeah.
This is our jurisdiction. So what are people's thoughts?
I mean, generally we've never allowed it. But as you've said, we've then been overruled by DEP. So I think that would probably be our option.
being overruled doesn't embarrass me that much. I think we ought to stick with this whole idea of protecting the wetlands.
Right.
DEP wants
Yeah.
to grant it, let them.
I think we've tried to set a precedent of not allowing a wetlands crossing, period.
Yeah.
I agree. I don't want to be, on the other hand, I don't want to be sort of like mindlessly stubborn about some things. I just want to make sure what we're doing makes sense as opposed to just something that's a knee-jerk reaction. And this is not a piece of property that's vital to the conservation interests of the town of Berlin. It's on a street corner surrounded by other houses.
A very
So-
bad street corner, actually.
It's a busy street corner. So, it's not, it's not something that would be in the interest of a commission to try to conserve. So, the question is, do we want to put up a stand about the wetlands crossing because that's what we've traditionally done? Or do we want to accept the fact that will likely be overruled because the plans are pretty good and they do meet the river crossing standards as put forth by the regulations, which I reviewed.
And on the same note, I do like the idea that the replication area is attached to a wetland, because when they try to replicate somewhere where it's not attached, they usually don't work. So I'm not saying yay or nay here, but I'm just trying to go with John here, saying that when you replicate a wetland, it has a better chance of taking when it's adjacent or attached to an existing wetland versus trying to create one on its own. That's
Yep.
so like John said, they've done their homework.
Yep.
Can we use the superseding order from the last time to create a supplemental order of conditions that's more stringent than what we usually put out?
Sure.
We potentially could do that. I could review it. I mean, the current plans actually do call for some, regular monitoring of the site. But yes, we could insist on the hiring of an independent person. I mean, we wouldn't want to copy the superseding orders from the Bigelow Road thing verbatim, just because it's a much bigger project.
No, but there might be things that make sense.
Right.
Yeah,
Use it
no,
as a
they're
pull out.
guideline.
That's a
Yeah.
good point, Robin. Yeah, that's a good.
Was
point.
the original proposal that we looked at before, the house was on the street side of the wetland, is that correct?
Yes,
That is correct.
correct.
Did that meet every standard? Why was that turned down? Or
It
did-
wasn't, they
It
never,
wasn't turned down.
So in other words, you can build on that lot without crossing the wetland. You can put a house and build on that lot without crossing a wetland. Is that correct?
It was, well, what I say is correct is it was permitted to do so back in 2000, well, 5 years ago, yeah.
Okay, then
no,
Yeah.
I don't, an NOI was filed on that plan. I remember seeing the plans, but didn't realize they had filed an NOI.
Oh, yeah.
Louise has got the memory. of-
Yes, and NOI, okay, on August 6th, the original owner came in for a continuation of the NOI hearing from the last CC meeting. The CC conducted a site visit. Dave Burke also, attended the site visit. He was a person who flagged the wetlands. Again, the proposed design was for water and sewage to connect to the town of Hudson. We discussed some things that we wanted them to do, and there was a motion made to accept as presented with the OOC to include shrubs and stay out of the
Oh, yeah.
buffer. And we voted unanimously to allow it.
And how come it wasn't built?
Because the previous owner didn't follow through,
Yeah, chose not to do it for whatever
Okay.
reason.
chose not to do it. He then sold the land to somebody, I believe he sold it to somebody who decided he couldn't build on that. And then in 2016, we had a couple who came in who wanted to build there, but they ran into problems with the town of Hudson because Hudson wanted them to change the site of the, the pump chamber from Berlin to Hudson. Unfortunately, the company that had drawn up the original plans had gone out of business, and he couldn't get anybody to take over and redesign the lot. So he dropped out. So I'm a little uncomfortable with the fact that I feel that this lot was engineered to bypass our wetlands, wetlands. I guess it's not a bylaw. That it was, I feel bad though, because somebody who had nothing to do with the way this was done wants to build there. And he's running into these situations.
Yeah, Louise, my position had nothing to do with personalities, and I know you don't either, so I don't want you to
No,
think that.
no.
It's always difficult to tell people that they can't do this and they can't do that because of our bylaws, but you know and I know that Berlin is Berlin because we have such bylaws.
Right.
And through the years, there's been people like me, for example, that hold the bylaws and not allow things to happen. But so we've got a plan on file that shows this lot can be built on without crossing the wetland. So this could not be taken to DEP and have them change it because we're taking away the value of this lot. So I'm against crossing a wetland when we know full well that lot can be developed without crossing that.
Right. Is the purpose of crossing the wetland to to reach the barn on this property? In
No,
other
the purpose,
No.
Well, the barn is
The-
on the street side.
the purpose of crossing the wetland is because that the barn can't be built alongside of a house that is of any size at all.
Right.
And so consequently, the only way to accommodate our desires, our needs, is to find that upland piece, which resides in the back. In addition to that, it's a far more obviously attractive proposition to have your home, more than the minimum setback to, as you've all noted, a very busy intersection. So it's like literally placing that house right on a corner of two streets, and which, those speed bumps and everything that were placed there were done for a reason, right? So there's substantial traffic at that intersection.
Yeah, but there are other lots in Berlin that are a lot better than this, as a matter of fact, and they're for sale. This lot, we understand that it's a bad lot. I wouldn't build there myself, period. I don't care how far back you could get. You couldn't get far enough for me to want to live at that intersection, but.
Well, I mean, I have other reasons, Walter, with all due respect, that involve being close to my grandkids and close to, being able to take care of them and their own particular special needs. So proximity in that area is a vital concern for my wife and I.
Okay, I understand that, but you're personalizing this. I'm not personalizing this. I'm looking at it strictly.
Well,
by the
I
wetland
understand
law.
that. I'm clear on that, but I have to personalize it because it does. I mean, when we drill past all of the, the issues, everything in life gets personal, right? So it always comes down to that. And then it's not like yeah. So yeah, I understand what you're saying, but I just want you to know that on the other side of this decision is a family, and that's important.
Well, again, I look at it totally depersonalized, and I'm sorry about that. I don't know how far you are from your grandchildren. My granddaughter's living with us right now. They came from Ethiopia. They can't go back with this coronavirus, but so we all got personal problems, but I'm looking at this lot and I'm simply saying that there is a house that could be built on it. You could build that house and live in it, and be close to your grandchildren without crossing that wetland. So it can be built on. My point is, Berlin is Berlin. Through the years, we're losing it. We're losing it very fast. As a matter of fact, I'm about ready to throw in the towel myself, the way things are going. But Berlin's Berlin because people came into town, they realized they had to live within the limits of the environment and the bylaws, and that's it. We can't.
Does your bylaw absolutely state that there'll be no wetland impacts of any kind?
No, but we have a right to, we want to minimize it when possible. And it could be minimized here by putting the structure on the roadside of the wetland.
Yes.
Well, Walters, sorry, Nicole, go ahead.
I understand that, but at the same time, we need to follow the bylaw, and if the bylaw doesn't specifically call out there'll be no wetland impacts of any kind, we go by the Wetlands Protection Act, and under the Wetlands Protection Act, you can impact up to 5,000 square feet as long as you replicate 1-to-1. And in this instance, we're replicating 1.5 to 1 in the smallest area possible. I'm just giving you the flip side of the coin for the applicant. That's all.
Yeah, and I think that's why we would probably get overruled, Walter. Like John pointed out, this isn't like a critical conservation land that we're looking to protect here. I mean, I think it would be unreasonable not to allow it on this parcel. It's not really this is a difficult corner. It's not anywhere that we're going to be looking to protect. And she's right, in terms of Wetlands Protection Act, it can be done.
If we do it here, everybody else is going to be in looking for this type of thing. We've held strong and we've won these elsewhere. If we go by the fact that the lot, we're not taking away the value of that lot. I'm thinking of the owner of the lot, not the people that want to build on it. And they can get their value out of it, and there can be a lot someplace. Just, I mean, as hard as it sounds, well, I don't want to get into talking about the personal aspects of it. I don't know what the personal problems are. All I know is that we've got a dwelling in this whole lot, and all the 3 lots in it have been a headache right from the beginning. And I think we got to hold the line on this, because again, somebody's going to turn around, point to this and say, well, look what you did there.
So we haven't done anything where we've allowed people to replicate wetlands anywhere in town?
Yeah, that isn't the issue. They can replicate wetlands, but we didn't allow it if there was an alternative. You know, if this lot, if there was absolutely no alternative to this, you know, I'd say, well, you know, why destroy the value of the whole lot if they can cross a wetland? I mean, I wish you'd be looking for ways to stop this kind of thing going on instead of.
I just don't think that this lot is
particular.
I don't think this lot is particularly valuable, though, in terms of conservation in town.
The wetlands are wetlands.
I agree, but
wetlands.
But you can
And
replicate them.
And we're not.
I mean, I get what you're saying. It creates a precedent, but you know, we could just let it go to the DEP then and let them overrule it if they decide to.
Well,
this lot to me doesn't seem like, you know, something that we need to, you know, dig our heels in on.
Nicole, what is the amount of the square footage of disturbance?
Of the wetland?
Yep.
It's 388 square feet of BVW impact and 35 linear feet of bank. And we'll be doing a wetland replication of 1.5 to 1, and it's 585 square feet of wetland replication.
So, I mean, that is very minimal. I am very concerned about setting a precedent. I agree that in this particular case, it's not a large amount. My concern personally is the location of the house. I don't really know what the elevation is, and I can't see the plan big enough to see what the topography is, what the height is. I don't think it's more than 2 or 3 feet of a height difference between the wetlands and where the house is. My concern is long-term pollution of the wetlands from the lawn, fertilizer, all of that. This is part of the Assabet watershed. The Assabet's right across the street, essentially. I have less of a concern other than setting a precedent about this wetland crossing than the actual long-term damage from the house being that close.
Just to give you some elevations, it says the ground floor is at 239.0, and the wetland, I see a 2.
I see a 238. I see a 240.
Yeah.
And there's not a huge height difference.
No, there is not.
Just enough so that the water doesn't do anything to the soils there. That's my 2 cents.
Is there any soil going to be brought in? Phil?
I wouldn't believe so. I'd believe soil would be taken out.
So, yeah, I'm sorry. That's not our intention. And for the record, I hate grass.
Good.
So yeah, so that's not an issue. And as far as fertilizer, I don't fertilize a lawn. I just believe that it just creates work.
Agreed.
And you can always make that a special condition too. Certain types of fertilizer, that would
Yeah,
not,
Yep, and even just mowing the lawn, and then where do you put the clippings?
Yeah.
Everything you're storing, any stockpile of anything, wood for the fireplace, gravel for something, grass clippings, leaves that you rake up,
Carolyn.
everything is in the 100-foot. Yes.
Carolyn, there's a good section of upland up behind the house. That's still a part of the parcel. Just pointing out, there's quite a bit of land out behind that house that's not close and or in the wetland.
Craig, do you own a lot?
Do I own it? I have a substantial investment in it right now, and I can't get out of it. I've gone past my my dates, and for nobody's fault. Obviously, we're all dealing with the COVID issue, and that has slowed up engineering and every other aspect of this process. But that doesn't change the dates, nor do I have a COVID-19 rider on my purchase. Shame on me. So.
Well, I wish I hadn't asked the question because, it introduces the personal aspect of it, and I shouldn't have asked it. But, I think
We can't avoid that, Walter. You and I are human beings.
we we got to look at this as though Mr. A came in, wants to do this, and Mr. B, and we're looking at it, forget the names, forget the personal problems, interests on both sides, and just look at this for what it is. It's a lot that can be built on without touching the wetlands whatsoever. And we don't, I don't think we need to allow this type of thing. And I hope that going back to the personal, which I shouldn't, I hope you can find something better. But this is, this whole thing has smelled, not this lot, but this whole big lot has been a headache right from the beginning. And we're still up against it. This is wrong. If there's an alternative, you look at it. Not the names, not the people, not the personalities. Look at the alternative, engineering-wise and ecological-wise. But anyway, we're not voting tonight, are we?
No.
No, we are not. Either Kyle or Craig, I would need a request from you to continue the hearing.
Okay.
I will hereby request that we continue the hearing.
Okay, we'll set up a preliminary date for the first Wednesday in August at 7:30. That I would suggest that, if DEP hasn't issued a number yet, then we hold it on the second Wednesday in August. Would that be okay with you?
Yeah, because we can't do anything until we get that, sir.
Actually,
correct.
the third Wednesday.
Oh, thanks, Liz. Yes, I misspoke. Third Wednesday. Second meeting. All right. Everybody has a copy of the plans. Feel free to look over them. Walter, if you want to do some independent discussion with the Hudson people, that's up to you. Okay, so we will suspend discussion for tonight and continue the hearing at our next meeting at 7:30.
which is the first Wednesday in August?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, we meet the
And-
first and the third.
Okay,
Right. If we
Making
do
sure.
not have a DEP number, Nicole, then we will
Yeah.
do it of a third and, and so forth. There was a
Okay.
period, as you probably are aware, about a half a year ago where they were taking well over a month to issue numbers.
right.
John, I think Louise wants to say something.
Okay, just to record in the minutes, I was wondering what Nicole's role is in this. Does she represent Goddard?
Yes, I'm a professional wetland scientist with Goddard Consulting. I actually delineated the wetlands.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
And she was there at the site visit. We had a pleasant discussion. Okay. Anything else before we finish up with this? All right. Craig, Kyle, Nicole, thank you very much for attending.
All right, thank
And-
you, sir.
Yep, we'll be in discussion. All right.
All right, have a
Bye-bye.
good night. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. Robin, you gonna demote everybody? They can,
Yeah, I think they all dropped
Nicole, you
off.
can listen to the rest of the meeting. It's just fascinating if you want to.
Yeah, they dropped off.
Okay, so
Time for me to
Now-
drop off?
no,
Oh, no. No, oh, well.
no, you can't open your mouth, but you can't drop off.
Oh.
May we now go to the minutes of last meeting? Is
Sure.
that- Okay. Close that. All right. Nope. All right. Too many damn buttons. Who designed this silly stuff? There we go. Okay. Meeting minutes, July 1st, 2020. Meeting opened at 7:21. John opened the meeting by stating that it was being recorded and explained the reasons for the meeting being held remotely on Zoom. By executive order of Governor Baker, due to COVID-19, the town office closed the public. John reviewed the rules for holding the remote meeting. The roll call attendance was taken with the following results. John here, Steve here, Louise here, Walter here, Carolyn here, Liz here. Associate non-voting member, Robin Berry here. Other attendees, Maria Rada, Paul Kirshner, Stansky, and McNary, representing Kevin Toto, applicant for amended order of conditions, and Kevin Toto. Minutes of the July 1st. Wait a minute. What was it? The June 19th, Louise?
No, July 1st.
No,
Just
minutes of the June 19th minute.
Oh, you're
Was it the
right.
19th?
I missed that.
June
Was
17th.
it
17th,
17th.
17th? All right, thank you.
right.
Were reviewed and edited. Liz moved to accept the minutes as edited. Steve seconded the motion, which passed unanimously. Roll call vote. Treasury reported of June 30th. The no report was given. Bills and forms. MACC. John reported that dues to MACC in the amount of $434 were due. They are also asking for $15 for each member who wanted to subscribe and receive the MACC handbook. John stated he would have subscribed to the total bill would be $449. But moved that we pay the MACC amount of $449 for membership and fees and one MACC subscription. Steve seconded the motion. A roll call vote resulted in unanimous vote. Walter's postage received. John reminded Walter they needed to submit feedback from KP Law. John reported that he had emailed KP Law about the last bill, which did not contain an itemized list of services rendered. He has received no response. Mail notices. A drone inspection. Louise reported that Bob McTague, a licensed drone pilot, has volunteered his services to do aerial site inspections for the Concom. Wetlands, Solar Farm, DEP 107-0239. The Concom has received 3 reports from Pat Connor. Despite 2 heavy rain events, there was no evidence of runoff, and the retention basins appear to be functioning properly. The site seems to be about germinated. Carolyn noted that from the pictures, the ground underneath the panels appeared to be germinating better than the ground beneath the panels. John stated that vehicle traffic between the panels was caused rutting and erosion. That ground was never resurfaced with fertile topsoil, which would have promoted the growth of grass. The enforcement order is still in place. Highland Ridge, DEP 107-0241. Pat Garner made a site visit to Highland Ridge, now known as the Homes of Highland Ridge. He reported there's no problem with the water runoff. The report included photos showing the ground disturbance. C-276 West Street, DEP 107-0253. No update on the work. D-100 River Road West, Old Tyler Farm enforcement order. The applicant is working on a notice of intent application. The enforcement orders are still in place. E, Bigelow Road, DEP 107-0247. The Concom was informed that DEP had issued a superseding order of conditions.
Okay, who didn't turn their phone off?
On our OC denial of the
That would
wetland
be
crossing
me.
of the site. Bugger, I'll get the rest of it later. The Concom reviewed the order of conditions to see what requirements the DEP had included. It was requested that John asked the DEP for copies of the regular monitoring reports. John asked if anyone wanted to appeal the DEP superseding order. Everyone agreed they did not. Appointments and hearings. 200 Crosby Road hearing for amended order of conditions, DEP 107-0245. Paul Kirshner, Stancy and McNary Incorporated presented the Revised plans to allow for the following. Proposed barn has been moved slightly from the accepted location. Addition of a catch basin within 100 feet of the wetland and the driveway to allow for winter snow melt. Construction of a trash bin generator pad located within the previously approved work area and proposed dock. John asked for the signed or butters cards. Paul will send them to the Concom and will email verification of the newspaper notice. John reported that he and Water did a site visit. The Concom members asked for details on the construction of the dock and asked for a specific minimum distance. The plans indicated 10-foot distance. After discussion, a 10-foot distance was agreed upon. Paul described that the dock would be constructed of wood with posts.
John?
Dock platform. Yeah.
I went back and reviewed the video, and they said the plans indicated a 20-foot distance.
No, we thought they did. Paul corrected us that a few minutes later, he corrected us that the plans actually, it was 10.2.
Correct.
So he actually corrected us. Our preliminary thought was 20 foot, but that was incorrect. It's 10.2.
I'm sure I don't know, because I went back and listened, and I'm sure he said 20, and then they agreed to 10.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
That's not my memory. But you know, I'm getting older, so.
You are?
Yeah. Fortunately, rather than
You don't remember agreeing on 10 feet?
I do agree on 10 feet.
Right.
Yeah, I do.
And I made a point of saying, we talked about 20 versus 15,
Right.
and we said 15, and Paul said, well, actually, no, because the plans call for 10.
Carolyn said also she wasn't comfortable with 20 feet.
That's Carolyn.
Carolyn said she wasn't comfortable with 10 feet initially, then we
Right.
agreed on 10 feet.
Right, and then you bullied me into 10 feet.
I did. I twisted your arm,
Yeah.
which was easy to do because it hurts a lot when you move your left arm right now.
Right, well, exactly. You just pinched my thumb.
5, Carolyn asked for a close-up review of the driveway, catch basin, where the water flow and possible sedimentation would go. Paul described the system would work, the way the system would work. 6, after questions and concerns were answered, John declared the hearing for the amended OC for DEP was closed. Walsh moved to accept the revised plans and issue an amended OC. Liz seconded the motion, which passed by all voting members voting aye. John will gather the required signatures and send the original to applicant Kevin Toto with a copy sent to Paul Kirshner. At this time, Doug Jones, landscaper of the project, asked to be recognized. He thanked the Concom for the service of this project. New business. A, SVT, Ashley Davies departure. John reported that Ashley Davies was leaving SVT to work for the state on the Agriculture Preservation Restriction Program. She'll be the Eastern Mass representative. Krista Collins will take over her position. B, Northborough Concom Zoom meeting, July 8th. Huh? Oh, at 6 p.m. from Mount Pisgah Conservation Area Management, the Northborough Concom notify the Berlin Concom. They'll be discussing the mutual problem of road trails and white pines trees being cut down. They invited the Berlin Concom to sit in the meeting, which will take place on July 8th, 2020 at 6 p.m. on Zoom. Several members expressed interest and will report to the other members. John reported that he visited the area recently and had not observed any more cutting of trees. At this time, 8:28, Steve left the meeting. Scheduled site visit Marlborough Road. A site visit to a lot on Marlborough Road used to be scheduled to prepare for a hearing for a notice of intent application to build a house. This lot had a long history of people trying to build on the site because of wetland issues. Carolyn stated that several people had tried to build on the site. The original applicant had a verbal agreement with the town of Hudson, which will allow him to tie in with their water and sewage. He did not follow through with the plans, so he's commented that the last applicant was told by Hudson that they were requiring changes to the tie-in since the original engineers had gone out of business. The applicant could not find another company willing to draw up the new plans. He also dropped the project. The new plans were reviewed, and it was noted they would show the septic system would still tie in to Hudson's sewage system. Carolyn recommended that we ask for a letter from the town of Hudson confirming they were allowing the tie-in. The hearing is scheduled for the July 15th, 2020 CC meeting. A site visit is scheduled for July 8th, 2020 at 4:30 p.m. Old business MVP series. The municipal vulnerability preparedness sessions was to identify the strengths and weaknesses of Berlin's readiness to deal with climate change. Participants were asked to identify Berlin's strengths and weaknesses and suggest action plans for weaknesses, action plans for weaknesses. 2, Louise reported that On the 2 sessions she had attended, some of the issues that were discussed were conditions of the dams in Berlin, the need to protect agricultural lands, the need for wetland bylaw to protect the wetlands, and the rail trail. B, Great Oak Farm trail mowing. John reported that the Great Oak Farm trail has been mowed to make the trail easier to navigate. 9, land acquisition. Laura, Krista Collins, new SVT contact. The CC will be working with Krista Collins on this purchase. Currently, the Concom is waiting for a response from the family. B, Balance Rock Farm and Berlin Stone Company. Ashley Davies and Walter have been working on a possible conservation plan for Balance Rock Farm. Berlin Stone Company holds an 9-year lease on 40 acres of the farm, so they would be involved in any conservation measures. 10, land management, Wendler Peach Hill Conservation Area 40 Cave. Dan Simpson is working on new signs for these areas. Carolyn reported they should be working on signs this weekend, so they must be done. 11, community outreach, fundraising. The Concom discussed the need to do some fundraising for land and or CR purchases. Walter suggested holding on an executive session to discuss some ideas. B, wetland bylaw community education. John suggested using the MECC guidelines as a starting point and asking for input from town residents for preparation for presenting a bylaw at a town meeting. C, wildlife list. Walter suggested starting a list of wildlife found in Berlin using the conservation website and the town website. Liz moved we adjourn the meeting. Carolyn seconded the motion, which passed unanimously by a roll call vote. The meeting ended at 9:01. Minutes recorded by Louise John and John A. And the meeting ended at 9:01.
Nice job. Can you read that again?
Yes, yes, and a third time perhaps. I will just keep reading.
I don't think we need to say 901 twice and then it can fit on the page.
Look at that.
Ta-da.
Good
Okay.
catch, Liz.
Yep.
You
All
saved
right.
the tree.
Worth my pay.
Yeah, it's all electronic anyway. The so I would entertain a motion to accept the minutes with those slight.
We'll move.
Is there a second?
Second, third, fourth.
All right. Roll
Okay,
call
I
vote.
didn't get that.
Walter moved, and I think Carolyn beat Steve to it,
Yeah.
but I could
Oh,
be
yeah.
wrong.
Did.
And what was Walter's motion?
To accept the minutes as
with-
amended.
As amended.
Okay,
So roll call vote. John, I. Louise,
I,
Carolyn,
Aye.
Liz,
Aye.
Walter,
All right.
Steve,
Yahoo! Yes.
and Robin.
Aye.
All right.
All
First
right.
Oh
vote.
boy.
Doo-doo-doo-doo.
So exciting.
Okay.
Ah,
All right.
we still need a stronger initiation test than that.
It's COVID, you know, pandemic.
Okay. Next, treasurer's report. I have none. Robin, I believe, has agreed to take on the treasurer role.
Yep, and I think
And-
Carol just sent something during the meeting.
Oh, really? Let me check.
I didn't look at it, but I saw an email.
Yeah, okay. So, yeah, she sent us her spreadsheet, which she says is cryptic, and then we'll discuss after the meeting. Maybe, Robin, you're in control, right, of all things? Like you have godlike powers over the Zoom webinar?
Except she's muted.
You're muted, you fool.
Unmute. She doesn't know how to do that. Unmute.
She did.
I've been relying on the space bar, but then I was opening up her thing, and I was on the right screen, and the space bar doesn't work when you're unmuting
here we
yourself
go.
when you're on the wrong
I didn't know
screen,
you
so-
could use the space bar to do that. That's
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can just hit the space bar, but you got to be in the right window to do it.
So after the meeting's over, the three of us will talk and sort of get educated about this stuff. So I can stop pissing off June Poland, which I've been doing a lot lately. All right. So unintentionally, I don't mean to make anybody mad, but
Oh yeah, right.
except for Steve.
Yeah.
There
luck.
are no bills and forms, which is a blessing. Number 4 on the agenda, mail and notices, DEP notification. So they sent out a notification, I think within the last 48 hours. There's level 2 drought for this area, central area. And apparently, unlike prior times, Walter, this is the entirety of Worcester County.
Oh, it's here.
So they didn't like separate it out into other counties or like into separate towns and stuff like that. It's the entire county. The chief relevance for us at this point, it would be that if someone tried to claim that a perennial stream is an intermittent stream, they couldn't do so based on the current data.
Correct.
But other than that, you shouldn't be watering your lawns that much, unless you have well water, and then who gives a shit? Oops, I said that on the.
Don't spread that news, because
Dude.
people go in and try to do a perk test when it's this way, or try to get around wetlands.
Right.
Well, we're not supposed to let
But
them.
because a drought has been declared by the state, it doesn't count, right?
I think
Even
you're
a perk test? Is
I
that
don't know
true?
about the perk tests. That's the Board of Health thing. I have no idea.
Nah.
Right.
Yeah, no.
Does the town do watering restrictions here?
I don't believe they do because it's well water. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah, I think so.
Yep. You cannot tell somebody you can't use your well for a purpose.
we
You
have
can
a-
laugh at them when they were on the well dry, but I'm sorry. All right, next, mail notices, invasives, mass. This is just FYI. So SVT is again doing some training on invasives mapping for the 40 Ks area. If anyone is interested, they're doing some training from 8 to 10 tomorrow, and let me know and I'll email you the link. Okay, next, wetlands, solar farm, DEP 1070239. Let me.
Oh, what's Robin drinking?
Just get that big not see-through travel mug.
I
It's
noticed
just
that.
tea. I swear it's just tea and decaf at that.
So Pat's July 7th visit, no new erosion or no siltation. He's now saying 70% germination, so that's less than the 75% he agreed to last time. There's grass in the lower basin, upper basement clean to silt sediment. Silt fits wells should be refreshed for missing 3 to 4 of the fungus. Site remains stable, but may be subject to erosion under heavier storms. And you can see, it surprises me a little bit because there are weeds growing everywhere. And that this stuff isn't growing weeds, it just shows that it's just barren soil. So the enforcement order is still in effect. I had just today, before we started, a brief conversation with Leanne Leahy, who let me know that Margaret has been speaking on after my interactions with her with the electrical inspector. So he will not do a final sign off until he gets the word from her, and she won't do anything until she gets the word from us. So we still have leverage here to get them to.
As a segue, by the way, did you pick up in the paper that the state, there's a group getting concerned about where they're placing these solar farms using good land ecologically or good farmlands, and they're looking to push them to be built on top of buildings and maybe along power lines and clover leaves and stuff like that instead of
on farmland.
they're looking at coming up with some kind of state regs. I don't know if they can do it or not. It was in the Globe a couple of days ago.
Yeah, I missed that. Yeah, that would be great. Also on landfills. I mean, they can put them on landfills too.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Some places they're putting them in parking lots so that the cars are actually parking underneath them.
Yeah.
Yeah, REI in Framingham has that.
Right.
It's awesome because your car gets shaded too.
Exactly.
Coincidentally, because I was doing some work with Dan Simpson today, on my drive up to Lancaster Road and back again, both times I saw pickup trucks coming out of the driveway. So somebody's at least attentive to what's going on there. All right. Anyway, so that's that. Next up on wetlands, Highland Ridge. Pat did his latest evaluation of them. Everything looks good. I don't. Does anyone want to see the report? Basically everything.
No,
I've actually driven by.
Yeah,
that's enough.
Yeah.
Big construction site.
276 West Street. I was in touch with within the past week with the environmental consultant about that place, and he had said he was going to reach out to them, but I hadn't heard back to him by the start of this meeting. So, but if I don't hear from him in a day or two, I'll send him another email. Next up on wetlands, the 100 River Road enforcement order. So Dave's been working on flagging the wetlands and back and forth with Chris Flood, and I have a formal, I gotta do this again. Stop that.
I don't believe Robin. She keeps going back to that cup.
Well, they basically are looking for a 3-week extension because
Oh, you got the email.
Dave hadn't got it flagged out yet. So they're getting together this week, get it flagged out, and he's looking for a 3-week extension.
Right, we requested 3 extensions of professionals can complete their services. So what are people's thoughts about this?
I'd say let them, they're not doing anything. It isn't like they're operating there at all. It's just setting, so an extension isn't going to harm the environment any, and they actually need it because they don't have it together yet.
Right.
I agree. 100%.
Well, if she agrees, then I change my vote. No, yeah, I also agree.
Yeah, I mean, they are working on it. It's not like the West Street property feels like it's just sitting and no one's really being attentive. They are moving forward. They're just not prepared yet.
Yeah, I mean, the caveat with the West Street thing is it's for sale. I don't think you can sell. I'm pretty sure you can't sell something with an enforcement order in place.
As long as it was recorded at the registry of deeds.
We've had that issue before.
I will double check with that. I think it was though. I think I don't want to have you guys sit here while I look through old emails, but I believe it was.
Good. Then.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to allow a 3-week extension on the enforcement order.
I move that we allow an extension on 3-week extension on the enforcement order for 100 River Road.
Right. Specifically, it's a 3-week extension to allow them to come up with a plan.
To allow them to come up with a plan for their NOI. Right.
Right.
Second.
Third.
All right. Any further discussion?
Yes, I listened in on the zoning board meeting before ours, and they stated that the owner is going to go back to the zoning board for a special permit.
For?
They just said a special permit.
For a nuclear power plant? I mean, a permit
for a home contracting business.
For what?
Oh, this is 100. Oh, I'm sorry. You're talking about 100 River Road. Yeah. Yes. Right. Yes. Okay. I was taking notes on West Street at the time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think I heard that. Thank you, Louise.
Okay, we didn't actually vote.
I beg your pardon, Louise?
We didn't actually vote yet.
Yes, thank you. I asked for comments and you had a comment.
Right.
All right, so we'll take a roll call vote. John, aye. Carolyn?
Aye.
Walter?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
Robin?
Aye.
Liz?
Aye.
All right, so it's unanimous.
Great.
Oh, Louise! Duh!
Right.
Dude.
I know. Well, there's so many, now we have so many people in the commission now.
Right.
Like, it's hard to get everybody's faces all on this thing. Louise, how do you vote?
Aye.
All right, thank you. Sorry about that, Louise. All right, next up, under wetlands, E28 Oak Street. So I put this on the agenda because Louise prompted me to. It was actually Dave Burke that, so I could also email him, or you can contact Rosanna directly if you want to, Louise. I mean, the issue would be like essentially them requesting a COC at this point, correct?
The issue would be what?
They're due to request a COC.
They did not.
No, they would. That's what their next step would be, I believe.
Oh, okay. All right. So they haven't requested one yet. So it's still open.
Yes. So anything else you wanted to put on to talk to about that, Louise?
No, just that.
Okay. So I'll email Dave Burke, who's unfortunately quite busy nowadays.
I just didn't want it to fall through the cracks.
Thank you. Yeah. All right. So next, we already had our appointments, new business. All right, there's 3 things under new business. The first one, Walter, land, forest, and habitat management.
Do I have the floor?
Yeah.
Well, I was just, you know, walking around our lands a lot, and we've protected them from development and subdivision, which is 90% of land management and wildlife protection. But at the same time, we've got some horrible invasive situations. We've got a lot of just junk timber. We really should do some harvesting, open it up, get the sun in there. And I don't know, just look at it. I think we need to engage a forester to come in and just give us advice on a couple of them, get a feel for it and see what we can do. But I put an equivalent of a day's work into that Pleasant Street, Berlin Meadows thing this past week, weeding and liberating a couple of beautiful chestnut trees that are growing in the woods there, and that entire area down there. What I would guess that close to 3/4 of it are invasives all along through there.
Are you going to talk about at the start, after the trail starts?
Yeah, well, when you're along the meadow on the right side of it, between the European buckthorn is terrible in that whole area. And then you cross the brook and you have that ailanthus, you call it, the tree of heaven. It's a terrible invasive. The pines that are in there is just junk, period. You can't, I'd be surprised you get 2 boards out of the whole stand. And it's just a mess. So I didn't know, I mean, the problem is that timber sales are down and timber prices are down, but just look at it and see if we can do something. There are funds, grants available for managing lands like this with both the feds and the state. And if you're interested in doing that, you know, I'll pursue it a little bit more and find out, present to you where the money is and what we should be doing. And then we can talk about where we might want to start out and look at a piece of land of ours and manage it a little bit better than we're doing.
Yeah, no, I think that is interesting. That does remind me that 6 months ago, remember we had that discussion that Dan Stimson from SVT had asked us about some land management. And initially we were skeptical that it was just SVT's way of, you know, that they were trying to generate some fees, but that was not the case. So, you know, you might also want to contact Dan Stimson. You know, because, you know, SVT may have already some resources. I mean, that's one thing about them is they have a lot of, you know, a lot of knowledge about resources that can be accessed for this kind of thing. You know, forest management is another, you know, it's a very good issue. I mean, it's, you know, it brings up, you know, because there are more people that live in Berlin than there used to be, although it's still a small town. I mean, the one municipal MVP session I attended, I talked a little bit about, you know, controlled burns.
I have one of those every spring.
Yeah. Well, no, but I mean, it's, you know, somebody had brought up wildfires, but I mean, it's the best way to you know, to reduce the wildfire risk is to have controlled burns of that underbrush.
Yeah.
But doesn't that open it up for invasives?
What's wrong with invasives again? Remind me.
Yeah, I'm like, what? Wait a minute, what? Your chair?
Carolyn, the underbrush is invasives.
Depending, yeah.
It's horrible.
In Berlin Meadow, it is. And fortunately, in large parts of Pisgate, it is not. But in Berlin Meadows, it is. They're all invasive. When you walk down that trail, Walter, you know, when the trail starts, because I was up there with that Boy Scout, it's appalling how much it's just all bittersweet everywhere.
Everywhere.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, Walter, I think it's a great idea too.
I'll look into it a little bit more.
Yeah.
If anybody's interested in also working on it, let me know.
All right.
Because we can spend wetlands funds on that also.
That's an interesting question, Carolyn. We should find out.
That was also on my to-do list, Carolyn, is what that money could be used for.
Right, because it just grows. I mean, I know it has to be spent on wetlands related things. Well, this is
So my pool is wet. Is that, can we spend money on a pool party?
wetlands.
Yeah, that would be interesting. Maybe we could spend the money on a development.
At
program
least
like that.
to, you know, some of it to get going on it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of invasives in wetlands. So
Yep.
we're helping the wetlands out.
All right. So maybe you want to contact Dan, Steve, Walter, I mean?
Yeah, I will.
Okay, next, B. Liaison with ZBA. Louise, you wanted me to bring this up.
Okay, I happened to be talking to Lynn Ryan about some issues. And we talked about the fact that sometimes there wasn't good communication between the different boards and commissions. And she suggested that she would put me on their email list, notify me when a hearing is being held so that I can let people know. Or we could do it so the conservation is listed on their email list and notified whenever there is a hearing being held. For example, if they have a hearing on 100 River Road, we would all know about it and we could listen in.
I don't see why it's so difficult to, everybody that is concerned with an issue, I mean, everyone on the planning board, the ZBA, the Conservation Commission, and the Board of Health should automatically get an email of anything that any other one of those groups are doing, so we know about it.
Isn't that the
That's a lot
town
of
administrator's role?
I would hope so. I think
Yeah.
that's a good thing for you to.
That's not happening.
Back, Steve.
Well,
It's not happening.
yeah, I mean, the town administrator's got her hands full right now.
You know, and one of the things that Lynn mentioned is sometimes they are hold a hearing on something and they don't realize that there's a wetland there.
Right.
You know,
So from now on, every time we schedule a hearing, should we just send out an email to all of the other boards?
I think we should, and I think they should do the same for us.
That's going to be an email blitz akin to like.
Well, it's not, I mean, not every board, but planning, ZBA.
Well, people just going to start. I mean, there's only so many emails you can go through.
Oh, you have to read your emails?
Yeah. See?
No,
Yeah.
Steve, we know you don't.
I'd be interested in knowing what any of those boards that I just mentioned were doing.
Right.
Which board did you mention, Walter?
On Zoom, you can sit in your own little living room or whatever and listen in. You know,
Pull your fingernails out. The what boards did you mention, Walter?
Planning, ZBA, Concom,
Board of Health.
Well, fortunately, we have somebody on planning, right?
yes, we do.
Yeah.
We do. Oh, we do? Oh, really?
Yeah.
Any good?
Yes.
So now maybe for those other two, we could just have a liaison. You know, I know,
Yeah.
like maybe Louise, if you want to just you and Lynn communicate, and then you can
Right.
filter. I mean, I think it would be more useful to have someone that could filter the information, you know, through to make sure that it actually is relevant rather than getting an email blitz, which just causes people's eyes to glaze over.
Right.
And so then how about the Board of Health? Who wants to be the liaison there?
I'll do that.
Okay.
Good luck with them.
Okay, so I'll let you guys reach out to the Zoning Board of Appeals and the Board of Health, and then we have an inside track on the planning board.
It's true. And they have an inside track on conservation.
Wait. You're a double agent?
Yeah.
Oh,
I am a
wow.
double
Wait,
agent,
a
yes.
double agent. Oh,
Yeah.
boy.
I'm being paid the exact same amount by both groups.
Oh,
Double dipping?
Double dipping.
okay.
All right, next, C, report on Northborough Concom Pisgah issue, John. So Louise and I attended the Northborough Concom meeting last Wednesday and they had the Pisgah thing last, so we had to.
Sit through the whole thing.
Yeah.
And they didn't have the courtesy to move it up for you?
It wasn't that. They had some, I think there was a hearing of sorts. And then I think their aspiration was to get the other stuff done quickly, knowing that the Northborough thing would take longer. I mean, the Pisgah thing would take longer. That was my interpretation. Anyway, I just sat and got all the work done. So in summary, so they had, Louise and I were there representing Berlin. Their chief of police was impaneled. They had somebody from Fish and Wildlife, whose name I can't remember. Louise, do you remember her name?
I don't know.
And they haven't posted their minutes yet. So very nice woman. And then they had somebody from Trails Committee there too. With one exception, everybody was able to agree that there are two separate issues going on up there. One is the road trails, the other is the cutting of pines, and they're not related. Generally speaking, I mean, occasionally a road trail person will cut up or drag a log or something like that, but usually they're using downed materials and rocks. They're not cutting things.
Is it the bikers that are doing it?
No, Walter, that's exactly the point. It's not the bikers. So, now of the cut pines, there's a subdivision here too. There's an occasional cutting of pines that is done by hunters up on tree stands. Particularly bow hunters that want to clear line of sight. The hunters. So people that want to clear line of sight, particularly the bow hunters up on their stands and stuff like that. And that, it is frustrating when your bow gets deflected by a branch you didn't notice. But I think generally that is, although perhaps a problem, it's really not a major problem because they don't cut that much. And that the damage that was noticed on Pisgah got everybody's attention was just wanton. It was bizarre. And the people there generally agreed that it was just weird behavior.
Did you see it, John?
Oh yeah.
You've seen it?
Oh yeah, I went right out as soon as Mia told me about it. I was out there within a week on my bike.
Really?
Yeah. And there are small white pines, anywhere from 1 inch to 3 inches in diameter. And some are cut at the base, some are cut like a foot or two up, and they're just laid in place. And they're just cut. It was almost like somebody was treating the white pine as an invasive species. It was just weird,
Really?
because there was no rhyme or reason. It was up on all the Northborough side. At the start of where the Vernal Pool Trail and the Howard Ridge Trail intersect, right? That sort of area. It doesn't make any sense. It just, so anyway, the chief of police, pointed out that you really can't have any controlling up there, but they did say they'd maybe try to get some cameras at the parking lot, people keep their eyes open, stuff like that. It mostly occurred in one event over the winter, like in March or something, whatever that was, March, April, I can't remember exactly. And Mia said there was another recent thing, but that may have been more related to some road trail stuff. We talked about how we had shut down the road trail that we had recently discovered and stuff like that. So that it was everybody sort of like agreeing that we're going to keep an eye on things. So if anybody does notice something, for instance, that road trail that Walter, Tom, the Chief Tom and I shut down was discovered by one of Mia's friends. So if you're up there, keep an eye on things. If somebody seems to be doing something not supposed to, basically they're just supposed to stay on the trail, unless they're Walter and they're wandering around like aimlessly in the forest. All right, so that's that. Next, old business.
Wait a minute, they talked about posting a reward for anyone who could give them information.
I forgot about that.
Right.
Yes, thank you. So
Right.
yeah, they're going to put a $500 reward. So
Right.
there's money to be made.
And
Now,
they were post it in, I think the Metro West News and the community, and they did not mention the item, and I tried to contact the conservation agent and couldn't figure out how to contact her to put it in the item.
I can send you her email.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
All right, that would be good, because it
she's
should
very
be
nice.
posted in the item, because so many people in Berlin, and I believe in Boylston, would get that newspaper.
Yeah, no, Mia's very nice. She's good. She's easy to work with. So, okay, thank you for that, Louise. I'd forgotten about that part. Okay, old business, wetland bylaw.
Yes.
So I suggest, this is what I suggest, is that we essentially use the MACC template and for the most part, just use it. You know, we'll adapt small amounts of it, but we're not, it makes more sense to use it because it works. It's been used by multiple other towns and we can tweak it, but that way we don't have to recreate the wheel.
Is that the one Greg McGregor wrote?
Yes, it is. Who's a very nice man with excellent judgment, except for he likes Walter. That was a joke, Walter.
Not laughing.
So, I thought it was funny.
Yeah, I'm kidding.
So what I would suggest, I'll send it out again, and I would suggest that the next meeting we just go over the first 3 pages. Okay, it's a 9-page document, so we go over the first 3 pages only. You know, for example, one thing to think about ahead of time is one way that deviates from the Wetlands Protection Act is, for instance, butters, they put in notifying of butters within 300 feet as opposed to 100 feet. And, you know, is there any point to that? You know,
I mean, I don't know that kind of distance is going to make a difference in Berlin anyway.
Right. So it's just an example of like, that's the kind of detail to make note of, you know. Again, the idea is to get a document that makes sense and that will be passed at town meeting. You know, so we have to, you know, compromise.
So what was wrong with the one that we went through? I missed something here.
It was too aggressive.
Okay.
Well, I would clarify that a little bit. We did basically nothing. Put it in there.
Oh, so wait, it did go in the warrant?
No.
Promote it, and you got to run a campaign to win the election. I mean, and the people that were against it came out in droves, and we were sitting there twiddling our thumbs. I mean, we've got to commit ourselves to doing some work. I don't care if we notify 100 or 500. What I want to know is, are we going to have a 30-foot setback? Are we going to have buffers around vernal pools? That's the stuff that we've got to look at. Make sure. If you're not doing that, what's the point?
Robin, he brought up 2 separate issues. There was an effort to get there was a wetland bylaw on the warrant a number of years ago, and I voted down.
Mm-hmm. I remember that.
Right. So our recent effort was not put on the town warrant. Carol and I went to the Selectmen's Board to represent the Conservation Commission, and there was a lot of heated opposition to the way it was written.
Really? Wow.
So that brings me to my question about this, is that what are we going to go through the document and then start getting input from other boards and the people that we were talking to before? Or do we want to, after we go through the document, to how we would like it? Or at what point are we going to bring in other people?
What I would recommend is we go over the MACC document.
Yep.
With the idea that we're trying to draw out something that will pass.
Yeah.
And is reasonable.
Okay.
And then we, you know, meet with and distribute it and get feedback and make amendments as necessary.
Okay. I just was wondering what your thought process was on the,
Right.
the study.
So you're saying our last attempt wasn't reasonable?
We were told it was very unreasonable.
See, I
Really? What specifically did they call out?
I like
lot
the
of
idea. I like the idea of bringing them in as we draft it, because that way we can address the issue, not just have them come back with a rebuttal. If they're involved in actually drafting it.
Well, but I think to John's point, if we have a basic idea of where we would like the document to go, then people can address specific issues, and we can address specific issues with those groups. And Walter, that doesn't mean acquiesce to them. It just means discuss specific things.
Liz is raising her hand. She's swatting flies. Oh, go ahead.
So we could figure out what page we're on, and then we write draft all over it and invite them in.
I'd rather, it's only 9 pages. So I'd rather get it done first. With Steve, to your point, I think it's just very cumbersome. Like if we say, all right, we want people to come in and help us out, and 4 people show up, but then we say, okay, we'll meet again to discuss the next session, and the next time 4 different people show up, and they want us to go over the first section. It's just it's too cumbersome.
Right.
I mean, I think we need to be efficient about this process.
I agree.
I think one way around that would be to invite people to join us from the beginning, to be part of the.
That's my point. So person A may show up next meeting and not be present, for the meeting after that, and person B shows up and say, well, I actually really wanted to talk about that stuff. I think we need to an attempt to first take a look at it ourselves.
And right, and then invite people, have an open forum discussion.
More than that, I think, for instance, I would be interested, for example, in meeting specifically myself with Dave Burke and with Mike Sawyer, and just saying, what do you think?
And the other boards.
They want the after party.
Right,
I
definitely.
see your hand up and
Liz,
not being
Liz.
recognized, and everybody like me is butting in.
Yeah, I think we come up with what we want, but not be too wed to it, and write draft on it so that they really do feel like they're involved, and it's an evolving process, and they're in the process. We get our ducks in a row, and then have the stakeholders, or the kind of the town decision makers on this that are going to lead the charge against it, make sure that they're with us in understanding.
Yeah.
So do you guys foresee a lot of changes from the template that MACC has?
I don't know yet. I don't have an opinion on that. I hope not too many. Partly just structural. A lot of it. Some of it. The rest of it just comes down to numbers.
Okay.
I mean, I think we do have to recognize that, in Massachusetts, we already do have the Wetlands Protection Act, which protects wetlands to a greater degree than protection is afforded in many other states in this country. So we're already starting
here.
Right. We're already starting from a position of strength. But, there's some things that I think that are missing, for instance, is the ability to impose fines.
We will definitely add that in.
Yeah. Another thing that's missing, which is, I'm still talking. I'm the chair. I'm going to just do it. So another thing that's missing would be the creation of an account that would allow monies to be deposited such that our wetlands experts can then withdraw from those accounts, so they don't feel like they're worried about getting stiffed by the site developer. Okay, Liz, go ahead.
So would it be 3 pages next meeting, 3 pages the next meeting, 3 pages the next meeting, and then invite the other town people in? And don't we Do we have to have it set before we ask for it to be on the town warrant? What's the timing and the critical path?
I don't know.
We do need, yes, we do need to have a final document. If assuming there is a town meeting in the fall, which there may or may not be, if there is and we want it on for the fall, we have to have it done in order, however many weeks ahead of the town meeting.
We
The
gotta
warrant closes. Yeah.
Okay, if
Walter?
we Carolyn, we just gotta make it a priority.
Yeah, I agree.
Right, let's do it. So, but at the next meeting then, as John said, we're gonna go over what, the first 3 pages? Okay, let's just wait until then and talk about it and get it done.
Agreed.
Please?
Yes, if we take 3 pages at our next meeting and 3 pages at the meeting after that, and then, okay, so it would take us the whole month of August to do
Right.
6 pages. We would be taking the first meeting in September. What if the town meeting is in October? That doesn't really
will
give us
not be in
enough
October.
time.
Right. We would,
So
and
ju-
we would have
just for-
heard.
I will email Margaret, but she had already made it clear some time ago that if there is a town meeting, it would be late.
Okay.
And there are problems because, you know, for instance, the annual town meeting was outdoors. And that's going to be a lot harder to pull off in November or December. So, I mean, we have to understand there may not be a meeting in the fall. That is possible. COVID-19 screws things up quite a bit.
Right, absolutely.
Walter?
I also think too,
Sorry, go ahead.
Wait, Louise, go ahead. I thought she was done. Go ahead.
okay, so I'm wondering if we should ask, particularly the people that were really, really interested in working on this, what their objections were to the last one proposal, along with going through the MACC template.
Walter?
Yeah, Louise, there are people that are going to be against the 25-foot buffer thing.
Right.
I agree with you. I agree with Mr. Chairman in that we should put a little more emphasis on this than 3 pages a meeting. Let's get on with it. I'm going to read the whole thing. I'll look at the whole thing, and whatever you limit the discussion to, I suppose we will. But I mean, this, you know, I was just on those meetings that you attended, the first one. What was that called? The CV, whatever it was. And I put down by far the most important thing that Berlin could do right now is to pass a reasonable local wetlands bylaw. And that's the best thing that we could do to protect the environment, the quality of life, the character of the town, the culture of the town, is this wetlands bylaw. And it's in our lap and we should deal with it. It's the most.
Are you talking about the
important thing we could do.
MVP?
Is.
Yeah.
Right, okay, that was brought up in, because we broke up into groups, and the group that I was in kept talking about the need to do a wetlands bylaw. They considered the.
Well, yeah, I was going to finish it.
I mean, I think we're all in violent agreement here. That we need to do this, and
All right.
Yeah. So John,
right.
you'll send out the template and we'll discuss
Again.
it at the next meeting.
Just to be clear, again.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, next, land acquisition lore. I have no update. I'll be in contact with Krista Collins next week. Number 10, land management, Wendler. Dan Stinson and I put up a little post today with some signs. Just showing the entrance of the trail. We also looked at that culvert now that it's dry enough to look at it. Does anybody know what I'm talking about?
At the entrance.
Right.
Yeah.
There's an old stone bridge there with essentially functioned as a culvert that allowed a little stream, which is still flowing despite the drought, to pass underneath. For 3 months a year, the stream overflows this stone bridge, making the passage there wet on your sneakers. Dan had wondered about being able to clear out that culvert, and we decided today that is not possible without heavy equipment. The stone bridge has collapsed, and you cannot get underneath it. Small amounts of water still pass underneath, but you cannot widen. You cannot. It's not like there were some branches that were stuck there, causing it to clog. It's collapsed, not clogged.
Sorry to interrupt you, but where is it, John? Relative to Lancaster Road, for example.
Right. So you know Lancaster Road, and you know that big post that says SVT, and where people park to go into 40 Ks.
Yeah.
Right across the street there.
Yeah.
There's a cart path entrance.
Okay.
And that cart path entrance is now the beginning of the Mount Laurel Trail.
Okay. Yeah.
You go in there, you take a right, you're on town property. You go up a little bit, you take a left onto Candy's land.
Yep.
And then go through Candy's land and then on to Berlin Conservation Land.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a stone bridge there that goes over a stream, which is still running, and it's collapsed.
Is it right near the road, or is it up on Candy land?
No.
Oh,
it's about
near the
40,
road. All right.
Yeah, it's about 40 feet from the road.
Okay.
So we cannot clear the culvert, which is Dan's hope. Plan B is therefore to build a bog bridge and put it to the side there. The reason to have it to the side is that just in case emergency vehicles need to use the access road, they could still do so. So Dan and I came up with some preliminary plans for the bog bridge. And this is something that he was willing to help out, get me some volunteers and stuff. We'd have to pay for the materials, which is fine. Interestingly though, we'll need an NOI for this. My standing OOC that specifically doesn't cover river crossings, but I don't even know how to categorize this because we're just putting something on top of a bad bridge. So I don't, I'm gonna have to file an NOI. Go ahead, Carolyn.
I don't think so.
If we have to file an NOI, why wouldn't we get some heavy equipment in there and
money?
I'll take a look at it. Maybe the highway department would help out.
Right.
They helped me out today.
Right. If money's, we may be able to find people who would volunteer their time and equipment. We certainly have people in town who have equipment. Right.
Well, the thing is that we may be able to get away with a bog bridge that accomplishes what we need for what, $100. If we tear up that stone culvert and do it like the way we're supposed to do it, we're going to need wetlands consultants and water pumping. And again, if we're doing it the way that we're supposed to do it, because it is a wetlands crossing. It is a wetlands crossing.
Right. But it will be an improvement.
It's a wetlands crossing.
Right. You wouldn't even need an engineer. You could improve. We allow things that people draw something on a piece of paper themselves. It's a simple what is it? The rocks are slipped off. I'll look at it, John.
It's a wetlands crossing.
Okay.
All right. Next, community outreach. Louise, you had wanted to say something about the wildlife survey and the high school students.
Right, it was just a thought I had on what Walter had suggested. And, we've talked about doing this for a long, long time. And it just hit me that we have young people here in town who might be very willing and definitely able to set this up for us. And there's definitely an interest because people post things on Berlin Neighbors Connect about different animals that they've seen and different birds, so anyway, and I know that the superintendent at one time had said he wanted the kids to work on community activities. So we suggested to Walter that maybe we approach some of these possibilities.
We basically, Louise and I were discussing how to, set up have a downloadable Berlin bird list that people could download. But right off the bat, we could probably put in 50, 60 birds that have been sighted in Berlin just to get people thinking about it. And then they could download it and add more to it or check off the ones that they've seen and just try to engage the kids and the public a little bit more. But we were thinking of the kids in terms of doing something, setting this up, because I'm not capable of it. I know that. And
It'd be a good scout project.
What's that?
It would be a good scout project. Like I don't know
Like
what
an Eagle
kind of
Scout project.
Yeah.
That's true.
Louise, if you want to write something up, I can post it on Berlin Neighbors, on our Facebook page and Berlin Neighbors Connect, and see if we get anybody who wants to volunteer.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say, do we want to not limit it to kids? I mean, there might be an adult that's willing to do it too.
Right. We'll just see what we can find and see what kind of interest we can generate.
Would it be
People that
worth
are willing to do like a
contacting?
one-off project?
Would it be worth contacting the superintendent at Tohoto and saying, gee, we've got this project that we would like to do?
I think the schools have enough on their hands right now.
Probably, yeah.
Maybe in a different time, but let's see what we can do outside of that for now.
Okay. Walter, why don't you write something up, because this is your idea?
Okay.
Write
Way to
something up and
delegate.
send it to me and we'll work on it.
By the way, on our Facebook page last week, we had 0 hits on it.
I know, because we're not posting anything.
Right, yeah.
It's not very impressive. It looks chaotic.
I remember seeing a list of birds that were seen in Berlin years ago. I think when I first joined the commission. I believe you had the list, Walter.
Yeah, I have a list. I keep it in my bird book.
Right.
Walter, if you want to make me, an administrator or whatever on the Facebook page, I'll post stuff. I'll share.
I can do that for you, Robin.
Oh, okay. Sounds
Good.
What was I thinking?
Right. Yes, I will do that. All right. Listen, I have to get going soon. I do have 2 things that, well, definitely one thing. I had 2 things, but I only remember one now.
Keep thinking. Maybe we should forget the first one.
On the Tohoto thing, I know the schools are kind of overwhelmed, but on the other hand, it might be a good thing to have them kids get outside, kind of input into one thing. We could offer it and they can always say no, but it might anybody welcome it.
There is a school system here who back in the spring, when they first closed the schools down, that made that, made it part of their curriculum. So
does anybody know the science teachers? Like the biology teacher, or I don't know who they are at the high school.
We can find out.
Let Louise and I talk about it some more, and we'll come back with some better ideas, and I'll be in contact with you, Robin, and, anybody feel free to call if you get an idea. So we'll do it.
I like it.
All right. Thanks. Carolyn, what was your?
So I sat in on a meeting last week with Margaret, Margaret, Tim Wheeler, the building inspector, and then four or five of the people who are looking at buying the 47 acres over behind Wilson's, or what was Wilson's.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yep. So yes, so the group is LASA, Level Serval is what that stands for, and they sound like an amazing organization, but relevant to our interests. They only want to build on the front lot. So there's Wilson's, there's a parcel that comes up next to it and behind that, And then there's the rail trail easement, and that piece of property is 10 acres, give or take. And then the rest of the property is behind, and most of that is wet. They only want to build on 2 or 3 acres on that front 10-acre parcel. So just, you know, from our standpoint, I was encouraged by the small footprint that they're looking to maintain, where they're looking to do it, and they're very interested in community involvement. Their biggest thing is going to be water and sewer. So, you know, which isn't our thing, but so I just wanted to kind of let everybody know that it seemed, oh, and Peg was also there, Peg Stone. So
This may not have nothing to do with us, in other words.
they will probably do a presentation for us, but we're not going to have to worry too much. We may actually ask them to put a CR on some of it, depending, but so just wanted to kind of update people on that.
Great. Okay.
And I think that's all I have.
Okay.
Make a motion to adjourn.
No, and don't get too, I got a couple of things. I got 20 listings here. I told you about the solar farms, how the state's concerned about where they're being built. Like I said, I put about a day in the Berlin Meadows there, weeding more on the garden. We should, if anybody wants to get together, we could polish that up a little bit more, and we really ought to, I think we should maybe think about if we want to improve it or do something next year to make it a little more outstanding than it is.
All right, Walter, I'm gonna just interrupt you for 1 second. I'm gonna leave. I will finish watching your stuff on YouTube, so I know what you said.
See you later. Have
All
a
right,
nice trip.
bye guys.
Have a safe
Have
trip.
a good night.
Good night.
And as I said, down along the right side of the field there is just a lot of invasives. I cut all kinds of that buckthorn and bittersweet and multifloral rose. I've got the scratches to show it. And then the other one, actually, Jimmy Spinney came down with a front end loader so he could push over this humongous mess of bittersweet. So I chopped that all up, put that in a pile. But anyway, we relieved these 2 beautiful butternut trees that are going to be really nice. They should grow really fast, and they're already dropping nuts on the ground, and so that looks a lot better. Let me see. We talked about the website, and I guess that's it. That's all I had.
Okay. Liz? You had a motion?
Make a motion to close this wonderful meeting.
Second, third,
second.
fourth, and fifth.
Any other comments?
Is Northborough
Okay.
as fun as us? That's my only comment.
We are way more fun. There's no one has a conservation commission as cool and fun as us. As ours. So roll call vote, John, aye. Louise?
Aye.
Liz?
Aye.
Walter?
I
Steve?
Double I.
And Robin, our new member.
Aye.